Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, The Life of Nina. I just wanted to tell a story today. I don't really feel like getting out and doing very much today at all. So I thought, well, I'll just sit in here and down in the basement where it's quiet and tell you guys a story about when I was first married and had just had our son. And excuse me. And he was 3.5 months old. And my father and mother-in-law asked my husband to move down to Kentucky with them, with us too, of course, and help them start a tire business, tire shop. So my husband, we talked about it and debated about it, and we finally decided, sure, we would go. And we went down there, and Levi was probably 3.5 months old, and it was in the summertime when we moved down there. So, I didn't find it too bad. Because he was gone from morning until night, and I just had, just me and the baby, and I didn't have a car, and we didn't have a house phone, and I'm sorry about the lighting. I just got a lamp over at the corner, and then the window, and the sun just keeps going behind the clouds, so I'm sorry if it's too dark. All right, so anyway, we get down to Kentucky, and like I said, in the summer it wasn't bad, because I was able to get out and take walks with him, and he loved being outside. And when he ended up getting colic really, really bad, and our driveway was a gravel driveway, and I would push him up and down that driveway for hours at a time. I actually wore out 3 sets of tires, wheels, for that stroller. Just that first summer, walking him up and down that driveway, because it was the only thing at the time that would really soothe him. And so we ended up moving in. His parents owned a house. It was just a little tiny house, and they rented a house that was just down the road from us. So we didn't have any close neighbors. They would have been our closest neighbor. And so my husband worked with his dad down there, and his mom was always busy doing stuff. She had a car, she could go running around. Once in a great while, she would run me into the laundromat if I needed to, and if I didn't have a way, I just would do what I could on my hands in the tub and scrub things. And we had a clothesline out back, and I would rinse them real good and go hang them out back during the summer. So I kept myself busy, and I was very homesick, but I just kept myself busy, and I had the baby, and if I wouldn't have had him, oh my goodness, it would have been horrible. I would have been so lonely. But he kept me, really, really busy, being a tiny one, and he had colic, like I said. So anyway, we did fine during the summertime, but when that first winter came, oh my goodness, it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. You guys seen that movie, The Shining, with Jack Nicholson in it? That's almost how I felt. I felt like I was going stir crazy. We didn't get a lot of snow, but we had a lot of ice. And I couldn't get out of the house with with my baby. He was too small to take out for walks in the winter. And it would have been way too heavy to carry. And plus it was dangerous because there was a lot of ice storms that winter. So we had a wood-burning stove, and it sat in the dining room. Well, every room that you went to, you had to go through the dining room. So, of course, my son is at that time able to, ride around, scoot around in his little walker, and he would try to get to that stove, and I was constantly watching him to make sure he was going to be all right. And then throughout the end of winter, our water would freeze, and I would have to, thank goodness we had a well out back, one of the old-fashioned wells with a bucket, and I just had to take the top off of it, and it was just like one of those that you see on all the movies where you just lower the bucket down into the water. So I would leave my son in the kitchen and put chairs up from the dining room in front of the opening to the kitchen so that he couldn't get to the stove, the wood burner. And I was scared to death he was going to get in there and, get burnt real bad. So I would put him in the kitchen, and I would run out and fill up a big bucket full of water, bring it in. I would either set it on the wood burner to heat up, Or if I was in a hurry to do something, I would just heat it up on the kitchen stove. It was an electric stove. And I used that. We never had it tested for drinking water, and it had set for a long time. So I think my father-in-law might have put, I'm not sure if he put a little bit of bleach down in it. But regardless, I was scared to death. I wouldn't use it for my baby. I always bought water to fix his bottles and stuff with. And money was super, super tight. So I'll get back to first off the water. So I would get all the water and heat it up, and I use that for baths and for bathing the baby and for cleaning, and used it to flush the toilet, and because you could use the toilet, but you know, without water coming in through the pipes, it wouldn't flush. So if you poured water in the back tank, you could keep it flushed. So you know, that kept me busy too. And so it was a really hard winter for me that year, being a brand new mom. I was, 23, I think, left alone a whole lot. We did find a church to go to, so on Sundays at least I had something to do and a little bit of, I could talk to people. And then we eventually ended up getting cable, so that really helped, having something to watch on TV. And you know, that time there was no games. You didn't have a computer to play on or anything, so I was so thankful for the TV. So the following spring, it was pretty nice. Mom and Dad came down from Ohio, and with my youngest brother, and I only had, going out the back door to like the well and the clothesline, there were just steps, just like 3 or 4 little wooden steps. And Dad got out there, and him and my husband and my brother build just like a deck, like a porch. It just didn't have a top on it, and put me brand new steps going down, and a big enough porch that Dad and Mom found me a wringer washer, and it was missing one leg. So Dad was able to fix that up so that it worked again. And they went to a consignment shop and down the road and got me a couple of little wooden tables, and then they bought me some of the wash tubs. So after I had that, that made my life so much easier. You know, I would get out there and wash. Anytime anything got dirty, I'd be out there washing it. And I could fill it up from the well. So, you know, I didn't have to go in the house. I just walked over to the well and filled it up with the well water. And that made the clothes so soft. So that was a fun time. My husband still worked a lot, but my son was big enough now where he was really fun, you know, to do things with. So what I would do is I would do laundry, and I would set him out in the yard, and because the porch was big enough for the wash tubs and for the wringer washer, but not big enough for a playpen. And this was, you got to remember, this is back at this time in 1988. And they didn't have all the fancy things that they have now for little kids to play in. So we just had the old-fashioned, the big square playpens. And we didn't have any tops or anything to put on them. So I would put a fitted sheet on there, on the top, so that bugs couldn't get in there to get him. And he would just sit there and play and look around. And he was a good baby. And so that's what I did. And then when I would mow the yard, we had a nice big front porch, and it was covered. So it was the house set up on a hill, so I could be down in the front yard mowing, and I could still look up and see that he was okay, or I could tell if, you know, I could see him well enough to know if he was crying or not, even as I was mowing the yard. So I just kept myself busy, you know, doing stuff like that. And one summer, or it must have been that summer, I remember hearing gunshots, and oh my word, it scared me to death, because I went down to the mailbox when I heard them, and it was coming from my mother-in-law's house. So I got the baby, and we walked over as fast as I could, and here she had killed what was it? It wasn't a rattlesnake, a copperhead snake. And she had been mowing the yard and came upon that snake, and it coiled back and was going to strike, you know, up at her. And she ran in and got her pistol, and she killed that thing. But it was so funny later, just hearing her story about how it terrified her. So after that, after I realized that there were copperheads and stuff around the house, I wouldn't put the baby down. I wouldn't put Levi back down in the yard without me actually constantly seeing him as I was doing the laundry. So I would just keep him in the kitchen and put him in his playpen in there, and that way I could still talk to him through the screen door and all that. So I hope this isn't boring you guys, but I haven't really been feeling that great to get out and do a lot of things. So I thought I would just share, that little story with you of how things happened when I was newly married and a new mommy. And we didn't stay down there very long. We ended up moving back home when my son was about 2.5 years old. And I never, I guess we grew a lot in those times as newlyweds and being a new mom. But I was so glad to be back home again. So, well, that's all for today. And I just hope that you guys enjoyed my little story. Just a little bit about my life. And I will talk to you guys hopefully tomorrow. Have a great day, okay? Bye.